Hello, everybody. My name is Sarah Perry, and welcome to a review of Chapter 6, an overview of the technical writing process. The purpose of this chapter is to discuss how to properly write a document from beginning to end, while having a clear and concise purpose for the document and maintaining a good relationship between the employee who wrote the document and the company, as well as between the employee and the coworkers of the employee. There are 4 basic steps to the writing process. Number 1, writing down ideas and information for the document. Number 2, planning the document. Number 3, writing a draft for the document. And number 4, evaluating and reprising the draft or drafts of the document. In the first step, when gathering information and ideas for the document, it is best to ask some basic questions. How is this information relevant to the document? This is important because it is a bad idea to add extra information that will distract the audience from the main purpose of the document. Number 2, what are the risks and benefits of this document and the information and ideas within it? This is important because the audience needs to know what are the risks and what are the benefits to the proposals within the document, as well as how the benefits outweigh the risks. Furthermore, it is important to question what are the opposing viewpoints. This is because if the document is simply one-sided and does not take into account other viewpoints, then that will leave weaknesses within the documents. Furthermore, it is important to address other viewpoints and explain how those concerns will be addressed. Next, the second step, planning the document. The main question that should be answered when planning the document is what is the purpose of this document? Because that will lay the foundation for how to answer the other questions. What format should be used in the document? Is this an informative document with a proposal to a supervisor and best to be used as a memo? Is this to inform other employees of how progress is going and therefore should be a presentation? Next, what approach is best for the audience? A sub-question to this is, what does the audience want? Because if what the audience wants can be addressed, then persuading them to the writer's point of view will become much easier, as well as address what type of flow should be used in the document. And then finally, another important question, will it be approved by the company? Because if the approach or the proposal is not something that the company will decide is in its best interest, then ultimately it will not be considered. Thus, persuading the company is also important. Next, we have the third step, writing the draft. This takes the first two steps and with the first draft, the main purpose is to get all of those ideas and all of the purpose and the approach, and begin a basic structure for what will eventually be the final draft or the final document. Now, it is important to have a coworker, preferably one who has a lot of experience with the company and experience working with the employee who is writing the document, to review the draft and other drafts. This is because an employee who has experience with the company will know what approach is best with the company and how to get the company's approval with the document. Furthermore, experience working with this other employee will have built that basic bridge and make it easier to convince that employee to work with you for this document. It is also important to give this coworker several days to review the draft and to provide feedback, because keep in mind, documents that are created through this process are not always directly related to projects that have been assigned to the employees by the company. For instance, in the case of a new proposal to a supervisor regarding an already existing policy. Not to mention, the chances are good that the coworker is already working on a project assigned by the company and thus will have priority over reviewing someone else's document. Finally, we have the fourth step, evaluating and reprising the draft or drafts. The main purpose of this is to proofread, as well as to refine the draft. So this involves making sure that there are no spelling errors, that there is no grammar errors, that all the words being used are being used correctly. For instance, the words there, and there. 3 different ways of spelling the word, 3 different uses of the word, but they all sound the same. And it is important to read the document, especially out loud, because spell check on computers does not always catch these words. It will notice that the word is spelled correctly, but not that the word is being used incorrectly. And by reading it out loud, it is easy to check how the flow of the document is and whether there's any parts that sound awkward. Now, spelling and grammar mistakes might seem small, but if there are no spelling and grammar mistakes, then it's a lot easier for the company and anyone else reading the document to take the writer of the document more seriously because it shows thought going into the document. Think about it. If there are spelling mistakes, then it is not hard to imagine whoever is reading it says, yes, the idea behind the document is good, but this person did not even put the thought and effort into making sure all the words are spelled correctly. So it always leaves a good impression to have proper grammar and proper spelling. It is also important to make sure that all the pages are numbered correctly, as well as all the sources are cited properly. Finally, when sending the document to the coworker and any intended recipient, it is important to make sure that the document is being sent in a company-approved manner. This is because some documents contain classified information, for instance, regarding a new product that the company is developing. If the company requires a secured email, but the employee uses a generic email to send information with that classified information, then it's possible for another company to hack that information and get that classified information. And thus, depending on what is compromised, the employee could face termination. So it's always best to send information, regardless of whether or not it's classified or not, in the manner in which the company approves. This could be a secured email provided by the company, for instance. And keep in mind that with any other draft, to use the same employee with the first draft. This is because, the same coworker as with this first draft. This is because the original coworker will have a good idea as to what the purpose of the document is, and therefore will be able to provide feedback faster, because that coworker will already know what to expect from this document and will already know what is being worked on and previous advice that was given on previous drafts. And once the coworker and the employee have agreed on a draft that needs no further improvement, then you have the final document that can be sent to the recipient, whether that be a supervisor, another company, a coworker. And that is it. Have a good day.